Alright, hey guys, this is Dustin from Sell the Spike, and in this video I'm going to be discussing why I have been bearish for the past week, basically from the run of Bitcoin from about 8,000 to 7,000 or 6,900, and a lot of other people have been pretty bullish during this past week, but that sentiment just didn't make a lot of sense to me. So in this video I'm going to go through a handful of charts. I'm not going to be doing live charting, but I'm just going to share some screenshots that I took and shared with my group, basically about why I was shorting from 8K and just sharing my bearish sentiment from that point. It's going to kind of be rapid fire. I'm just going to kind of go through the charts that I have one by one and talk about how I interpret them to be bearish. And I'm not necessarily going to explain every concept that I mention. That will kind of be reserved for my video course and maybe other YouTube videos, but it's just going to be kind of a recap of the market for the past week, and I think hopefully you'll still be able to find some value from it because you'll be able to get a sense of different things that I look for and kind of my thought process as I interpret these charts. So the very first chart, right now Bitcoin is sitting at about 6,900. But what I want to point out just real quickly on this weekly chart before we start zooming into slightly lower time frames is if we take a look at these two green candles here, this one followed by this one, we have a very clear volume anomaly looking at these candles. So you'll notice the second green candle is shorter than the first green candle. However, it has more volume. And so what this greater volume tells me is that sellers are really starting to step in and this bullish momentum is running out. And so as soon as I saw this volume anomaly, that's when I started zooming in and looking for short entries. I was not interested in going long at the close of this candle. I was going to be focused more on going for short entries and again zooming into smaller time frames to see if there are more bearish evidence for some short trades. Yeah, let's zoom in slightly to the 3-day. And I'm just going to zoom into where I want to point out. It's kind of small, but hopefully you can see there's a couple things I want to point out on this 3-day chart. When I took this screenshot, it looks like the price was around 7,900. But here we have this clear shooting star candle, which is after a run up. And we see massive volume on that shooting star candle. So a shooting star candle is a bearish reversal candle. And if it's confirmed by volume, then that's even more evidence that a bearish reversal is coming. And so when I saw this candle with the confirming volume, that's a sign that maybe this is the local top. And then a couple candles later, after we start seeing some downward movement with this red candle, that's kind of confirming that this is a local top. And you'll notice that each one of these circles is a lower high. And again, this circle confirms a new lower high, which basically confirms that the bear trend is still intact. And so again, I'm going to be more likely to look for short positions than long positions on Bitcoin. So let's look at this same 3-day chart. And what I want to focus on is this blue trend line. You'll notice that we have this blue trend line, and throughout all this period, it was acting as support. And then we broke down from it. And then on this very same shooting star candle, it retested that trend line as resistance. And so that's another piece of evidence that this top at around 8,500 is very strong resistance, and we're pretty likely going to see a bearish reversal from there. And I'm going to show you one more 3-day chart. And this is a potential fractal that I noticed. If you see this last high, basically came at the 0.618 fib retracement from the prior high to the prior low. So we drew a fib from this range, and then the price bounced up to the 0.618 before going back down and making a new lower low. And so again, if we draw a new fib from that high to the most recent low, then you'll notice that this resistance that we're seeing, not only is it a shooting star candle with high volume, and retested a prior trend line as resistance, but it's also approaching this 0.618 fib as resistance. So hopefully you can start to see now that using all of these factors in confluence, gives really strong evidence that this is going to be a top and we're probably going to go down from here. So let's zoom in to the 12-hour. This is a chart that I posted when the price was 79.65, and you'll see we have a very clear Adam and Eve formation forming on the 12-hour chart. So kind of the idea behind using this shape to trade would be to short at the break of 7,800, which is the neckline here. And then we would have a measured target down to about 71.50, which we hit a couple days ago, and I was happy to take some profits off the table there. All right, let's zoom in to the 2-hour. Now I posted this chart when the price was 81.74, and it was after price had been ranging for a few days. And so when price is ranging sideways, I like to find the equilibrium of that range, which is basically just the midpoint between the high and the low. And when candles are closing below that midpoint, that's bearish. On the other hand, when candles are consistently closing above that midpoint, that is bullish. But I noticed this entire block of candles, and even this is the 2-hour, but all of these 1-hour candles also closed below the equilibrium. So this means that bullish momentum is not very strong, and we're likely to see a reversal. So you'll notice that, I drew this arrow pointing down to 7,400 and below, and sure enough, a couple days later, we reached that point. And I'm going to share one more quick chart with you. This is zooming in on the 1-hour. At this point, the price was 75.90, and it was after we broke the Adam and Eve, and so a lot of my bearish ideas were kind of correct. And so I'm riding this short, and at this point, I just want to zoom into the 1-hour to get a sense of, are we likely to continue going down? Do I see a reversal? Things like that. So a few bearish points that I noticed is we kind of formed a new range, and again, candles were consistently closing below the equilibrium there. The second thing is a hidden bear RSI divergence, and so I pointed that out in light blue. You'll see the price made a lower high, while the RSI made a higher high. So that's it's called hidden bear divergence. And finally, we see some decreasing volume on this little run up, just showing that it is running out of steam and we're likely to continue to the downside. So because of all of these points, I actually added a bit to my short at this point. And obviously that worked out pretty well. So that is a brief summary of why I was so bearish before this recent move from 8K down to 7K. And like I mentioned towards the beginning, I think a lot of traders up at 8K were going long, and it just didn't make sense to me. So this is like a good lesson to trust your own analysis more than anyone else's, and trade based on ideas that you think are good or correct or have a high probability of working out, and not just what you see other people doing on Twitter. So this is basically the first video that I have made for the Sell the Spike YouTube channel. If you liked it, please hit that like and subscribe button and let me know. If you have any questions, post them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer. And my plan is to post a short video like this about once a week, probably even shorter than this one. And they will all be different. It'll either be a market recap, kind of like this, or dive into a specific trading concept. Basically whatever kind of video I feel like making at the time I will. And again, I'm going to try to get them out once a week. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this, and good luck trading. See ya.